What if this isn't one chronological event? What if it's the same core memory told by different communities, preserved by different authors, and the final editor of Genesis kept both? Kind of similar to the New Testament. This is called the documentary hypothesis. Here's how the three wife-sister stories line up, because there's going to be one that comes later, eerily similar as well, in Genesis 26. So Genesis 12, there's Abraham, Sarah, Pharaoh in Egypt. That's the J source. Genesis 20 is Abraham, Sarah, Abimelech in Gerar, E source. Genesis 26, Isaac, Rebekah, Abimelech in Gerar, J source again, next generation. Okay, I know that sounds a little confusing at first, but stay with me, I'm going to break it down. Genesis 12 is J, and J's storytelling style is direct and physical. J calls God by his personal name, Yahweh. And in J's hands, God doesn't show up in a dream, he sends plagues. Pharaoh barely gets to speak. The judgment is fast, sensory, it hits hard. You can practically picture it. Then we get to Genesis 20, the chapter we're sitting in right now, which is E. And everything feels a little different. E calls God by the title Elohim. God doesn't send plagues, he shows up in a dream. Abimelech gets to defend himself. He gets a whole conversation with God. He even gets to morally rebuke Abraham in court. Everything's more restrained, more careful, more worried about whether the foreign king is actually a good guy or not. So when scholars line up these three chapters and say same story, parallel traditions, what they're actually noticing is two different storytelling traditions told in a total of 3 times. Different vocabulary for God, and that's a big one. Different ways of describing how God acts. Different instincts about how to handle the foreigner. That's not 3 repetitions of the same plot. That's 2 communities, each preserving the wife-sister memory in their own theological accents. Okay, and I want to be clear. This isn't some fringe theory. This is actually how most serious biblical scholars, including believing ones, have understood the text for almost 100 years.